Hi, good morning. Um, yeah, that was a piece of work for sure. The other day, I picked up this book. Well, it was given to me, this book actually, and and it's called The Rosicrucian Questions and Answers with Complete History of the Rosicrucian Order by H. Spencer Lewis, F.R.C. And yeah, this is the guy who started the whole thing in Amworth, right? And I'm thinking, well, I'm doing some research for something might be interesting, might find some, this and that. Okay, this is one of the pictures, right in the beginning. Okay, it says, modern Sphinx preserves age-old principles. The former imperator of the Rosicrucian Order, Dr. H. Spencer Lewis, in full ritualistic regalia upon the occasion of the dedication of the Rosicrucians Science Building in A.D. 1934, is seen here depositing for posterity a scroll which contains 15 of the order's most important philosophic principles, and I wonder what else. On his left are Dr. Clement Lebrun, the Brown, past Grand Master of the AMORC, and an assistant. So some lady who's actually quite beautiful, and she's the one holding the scroll. No, yeah, what's she holding? She's holding something in her hand. It's not a scroll. It looks like some kind of a box. She's the one touching the lion. Or the Sphinx, sorry. Anyway. So, I'm just reading this stuff. And then the next day we saw this video of the unveiling of King Akhetaton. Like, this book directly talks about him. So the coincidence of having just read it and that coming up the very next morning was very interesting. Anyways, I'm going to read this stuff to you because it's very interesting to anybody here in the Unfuckers room especially. Thutmose III, as was his custom, was present at the feast. He, with his colleagues, was seated in the northern hall of the great temple. The chief priests, or Kari Hebs, were perambulating and carrying a little image symbolic of the god Amen. As they passed the different groups of personages, they were acclaimed. But strangely, the high priest would walk over to each group and peer into their faces, as though he was searching for someone. And then, as if realizing they were not the ones, he would shake his head in the negative and cross over to the opposite side and repeat the process. He knew all the time that Thutmose III was present, but finally, when he reached the northern chamber of the temple, he acted as though he had suddenly discovered the one for whom he had been searching. He placed at the feet of Thutmose III the image of Amen, which depicted, in the customs of the time, that he, Thutmose III, had been chosen instead of his brother to succeed the father upon the throne. And the great assemblage broke forth in acclamation. What interests us mostly, in which is recorded in history, is Thutmose III's explanation of his experience upon the occasion. He had no knowledge that he was to be chosen to become pharaoh, because of right of ascension. His brother should have been. But when the image was placed at his feet, he was seen to stand up. However, according to Thutmose III, he felt raised as though his feet hardly touched the ground, and as though he had ascended into the heavens, where he tells us God duly appointed him to serve his people. Interesting. In fact, he felt as though he had been divinely ordained because of the mystical experience. And it became not even necessary for him to journey to Heliopolis, where the Sun Temple was located and as been the custom to be formerly coronated. And there is a footnote here at the word coronated that says breasted. History of Egypt, chapter, blah, blah, blah. Okay, two things. This is pretty much exactly what Jesus said. Raised up into heaven and duly appointed by God. This is pretty much the same story that Jesus said when he rose from the dead and he went up. Same kind of story. Very interesting, right? He appears to have been quite original in his application of the doctrines of mysticism, but held to the existing form of religion. Bear with me, it's coming. Egypt was not free from the danger of the grasping hand of adjoining nations, and the life of this ruler was constantly tormented by outbreaks of war. The cooperation of his military forces depended considerably upon his permitting the populace to indulge in its fanciful beliefs, especially in the idolatrous religions. For this reason, an immediate change of the fundamentals of their religion, such as was made by Thutmosis' descendant Amenhotep IV in 1355, and with such reactionary results, did not seem advisable or even necessary. Okay. When you were coronated, you were said to be breasted. All the sphinxes from the old time that I know of were all breasted. It was a type of wisdom that was supposedly passed down to you, but which you actually are supposed to have, having had that initiation up there. Okay, moving on. As in all the ages, there were those who might be called advanced thinkers, true philosophers, sages, and scholars, and many of these were students of mystical doctrines as taught by Thutmosis' predecessors, and they evidently had a great faith in the final success of the principles, for when Thutmose possessed that of the class which had been meeting in his chambers became a closed and secret order. There was no dissenting voice, and articles of limitations were established ere the assembly dispersed in the early hours of dawn. So essentially it became a secret order at that point for them. This Grand Council meeting, for such it is considered in all official records of the order, occurred during, that would be the week of March 28th to April the 4th, in 1489 BC, according to our present calendar. It is generally conceded to have been on Thursday, April the 1st, but this may be associated with a later establishment. However, Thursday has become the usual day for Rosicrucian meetings, 12 known Phaorohs and Sorors were present at this first Supreme Council. 12. The Sorors were the wife of Thutmose III, known in the order of Mene, the wife of one of the Phaorohs, and another who was a descendant of one of the rulers of a preceding dynasty. Therefore, there were 9 Phaorohs and 3 Sorors at this council, a combination of numbers very significant. No worldly name was decided upon for the brotherhood, the records showing that the predominating thought was the maintenance of a secrecy. The organization had no publicity. It required no propaganda other than personal advice to those whose presence was desired, as one word translated into brotherhood, as in the one word translated into brotherhood, a secret fraternal body, was sufficient name for all purposes. We do not find any other term. This accounts for the widespread diversity of the name as adopted later, and many of the documents issued to the Grand Lodges throughout the entire world. The name of the order is seldom mentioned. Okay, now listen to this. The idea of secrecy is so strong and predominant that the order is referred to indirectly and sometimes erroneously as the school, the brotherhood, or the council. Furthermore, many of the documents begin with the announcement, quote, I, comma, brother of the Illuminati, comma, with power decreed, comma, do declare this manifesto, comma, unquote. Or with the salutation, quote, I, comma, F, period, Illuminati of the 12, period, unquote. Which means I, Frater Illuminati of the 12th degree. Very often these official manifestos are signed, quote, with peace profound, unquote, and sometimes, quote, F, comma, profundus, or, quote, F, comma, 12, period, unquote. These words not only show that the 12th or last degree has been the last circle within the order and known as the Illuminati, even to this day, but they also explain why references are made to these documents as, quote, instructions of the Illuminati, unquote, which may be easily interpreted as instructions, quote, instructions to the Illuminati, unquote, and sees them referred to in works published abroad in the 15th, 16th, and 17th centuries AD, where the order Rosicrucians is designated solely by the term Illuminati. It's funny how the word is changed. Illuminati. Just the way it would have been spelled in the cuneiform. Right, okay, so that's that part I wanted to read. So no. Keep moving on here. Actually, the next part we'll do that.